Welcome to the One Mic, One Voice show, Building the Collective Conscious, a show that's created to give space where your voice, ideas, and informed opinions can be heard, appreciated, and debated. I am Michael Eric Owens, folks, and up in the One Mic studio, coming back to you once again to talk about some things that are happening right now that affect you and I. My question to you today is, do you feel represented in this democracy? But first of all, I think we have to determine what is representative democracy, right? Okay. So we are in a representative democracy, meaning that we elect people that represent us. We give all the power to other people. That's just the way this democracy works. A direct democracy is one vote for one person. A indirect democracy or a representative democracy means that we simply give our power away. But we give our power with the sense of we're trusting them, right? We're putting our faith, our trust. We believe that they will have our best interests at heart. Well, I don't know about you, but you look around this country today and it is clear. It is crystal clear that the people are not being represented. I know personally, I do not feel like I'm being represented. I don't feel like my views, my ideas, the way I lean politically, my moral compass, I don't see any of that truly being represented in our society today. Think about this. Half of the voting electorate. Now, let's be careful. You hear people say half of America is don't believe the election uh, was legitimate. That's not true. It's almost half of the 46%, I think, is of the electorate does not believe that Joe Biden is president. Okay, man. I mean, yeah, how can that even be possible? One might contemplate. But if you look at the right wing apparatus and Fox News and Newsmax and all these other conservative commentators that continue to beat the drumbeat of a stolen election. And folks, most Americans do not have the wherewithal to do their own research, to do a deep dive, to read a lot of material. And some of that is legitimate because you're raising kids, you're busy, you don't have time. And so you get your news the only way you can, and that's like a drive-through version. And what our representatives today are doing, they're just playing out this political sort of stage play. And we are the audience and we're watching, and we're so divided because we're looking at two different plays. One play is full of facts and truth. The other one is just political arguments, ad hominems, red herrings, whatever you want to call it. It is simply lies, deceit, disinformation is what it is. And so, are you being represented in this democracy? Well, I don't know. I don't think if you are a rational person and you have your hand on the pulse of what's happening in this country, and you have to have a historical context of that. And this show is not going to be that. But I think the average person that is somehow intellectually curious understands that they are not being represented. So let's think about a democracy for a moment. You understand that we have laws and regulations and democratic traditions that are based upon decisions that are made by our representatives. Again, I want to stress to you, we give up all the power. That's what you do. When you vote someone in office, you give up all your power and you trust them. This is a serious investment in someone that you really don't know. You listen to their message, and the rhetoric is always pretty much the same. Economic issues, education. For a while, it was diversity and inclusion and equity was such a big thing, and now they've just squashed all of that. Matter of fact, they're on the attack. They're attacking DEI and other forms of education that is supposed to be enlightening. And so the goal of a democracy are really two things: compromise and consensus. Really, it's not complicated. When you think about the ancient Greeks, and again, it was just only men voting, right? Probably only men of such statues that were voting, but still, it was one vote, one person, and a majority rules. Well, okay, compromise and consensus. In our society, how do you reach compromise and consensus? I mean, really, that is a question because we have given away our power. That's why you see people trying to get it back. They protest, they try to change laws, they try to put pressure on representatives. Why? Because they have given their power away. The power is in the vote, the power is in the decision. Because that's really what a vote is. It's just a final decision on an issue. And frankly, we have not been part of that conversation. Matter of fact, they're these fringes on either end of these bases, whether you're the Republican or Democratic base. But I'm gonna say to you this: um, I'm not comparing the two because the Republican base is just, you know, I don't I don't even know what to say about it. It's delusional. It is. I mean, and there was a point where you said, well, they're just kind of misguided, this, that, and the other thing. It's ridiculous. We've seen the attempt to overthrow the government. We've seen just politicians on the right come out and just come on. I mean, this former President Trump, can you have a worse track record? You were impeached twice. You're under 3 soon to be federal indictments, state indictments. You had to pay a adult film star because you lied. You had to pay E. Jean Carroll because um you went into the press and you just bemoaned her, and she sued you, and she got paid. This is the guy that you want to be your leader? I mean, really, that's what we're electing. We're electing leaders. We're electing people to lead us, to make decisions that is within the best interest, not of them, but of the country. So, how can you have compromise and consensus if you don't believe in truth and facts? How can you? How is it possible to make a correct decision, not just politically, but in life, if you're believing a lie? If you're devoid of truth, how in the world can you possibly make an informed decision? You can't. It's just chaos. And that's what we see now. There's no compromise. There is no consensus. There is no Democratic America or Republican America. There's the United States of America. It's supposed to be united, not divided states of America. But we are living in the divided states, and it simply is all about money, power, in the status quo. You see, this Trumpian and the Republican establishments just misinformation, and it's just lies, and it's opiate for the masses. I mean, they are doped up. I mean, really, these people are, you know what, it kills me when I hear somebody say, you a Republican is in a, constituent is interviewed, and they say, how what do you think about the indictment? And their response is, I'm not going to read that. Are you serious? Like, how can you bury your head in the sand and and just allow for this cult leader to tell you whatever you should think, feel, believe, behave? You are nothing more than a robot. You're doped up. It's the opiate for the masses. You're OD'd on these lies. And then you regurgitate them, right? They're trying to prevent him from running for, like he did all of this just right now. I just and we again, if you don't understand that a democracy is only as strong as its people, a government, our way of life is under threat. Our country, and you hear this hyperbole that the country is going to fall apart. We are falling apart. It's not an exaggeration. When you look at the crisis on the border, when you look at the tax on education, mostly black and brown folks, their education, when you look at the attack on the rights of women, the attack on affirmative action, well, they eliminated that, right? The attacks on the LGBTQ plus community, when you look at the attacks on the Jewish community, when you look around, this country is fracturing. And what are we doing? We're not compromising. We're not reaching consensus. Even in the basics of relationships, there's got to be compromise and consensus. Is that too much to ask? Is that out of the realm of possibility that these people that are supposed to be highly educated, okay, that are supposed to be the cream of the crop of our society, the leaders of tomorrow, is it too much to say, do your job, run the government, compromise? But no, money, power, status quo. Change is the enemy of any political system, because change means that you have to rethink, you have to regroup, you have to re-strategize, you have to move in one direction, you might have to go in a 180 direction, simply because life is the only constant thing is change in life. Okay. And so we are not being represented. You say, well, okay, Mike, what we gonna do about that? Well, there ain't really much we can do about it. I want to be truthful. I'm not going to lie to you. There is not much, because we have given our power away. And those who are in those positions to make those decisions could care less about those they represent, because those they represent, either they're in a district that has been so gerrymandered that you cannot possibly get a Democrat if it's a Republican district, or a Republican if it's a Democrat district. And even if you get the person that you want in office, the pressure on that person to go along with the party, or maybe just agree, just the gaffe that comes along with, why are all of these politicians millionaires? Man, I mean, be realistic. Would you want to give that up? If you could just, you got a staff, you can give up and give your speeches, you can continue to feed the masses the opiate. So everybody seems to be fine because you're good, right? But there's a real segment in our society that Washington has no clue about. You see, those in Washington, in the bubble, in the silo, they don't know what's happening out here. They don't understand how difficult it is to make it out here. And then you have the celebrity of our country in which we glorify, you know, every person that's an influencer, and social media has wreaked havoc on young people because they are trying to create an identity that does not belong to them. It's what they have seen. Yeah. And so we find that our society is crumbling. There's some serious stuff going on. And those who represent us are just out of touch. They don't care. It's the old playbook. It seems to work for them. Those who support the lie, and lies have consequences. We can look around our society and see every day politicians and the media. The politicians lie, but the media itself continues to perpetuate this lie. Why are we still even talking about it? Why am I talking about it? You might say I'm perpetuating it. I don't listen. If I don't say anything about it, it keeps going on and on. Somebody, people like myself are, I think we're standing in the gap and saying, guess what? This is damaging to our democracy. Okay. The people that believe this are delusional. They really are. This is not normal behavior. Normal behavior is not to refuse to listen to the truth, to shield yourself from anything that you might disagree with, to talk about people or attack people that think differently than you. It's not normal. Now, you might say, well, hey, look, you sound like you attacking them. Well, that might be a somewhat of an observation, but I'm going based upon facts. And 46% of the country believe the election was not legitimate. That is a problem. 40% of the electorate. Correct myself. So we are in a crisis, and we've been in a crisis, and we will continue to be in a crisis, and it will only get worse. If you think this is bad, you've seen nothing. This will only get worse because people actually believe that this country is being taken from them. That's the biggest lie of all. That's the biggest lie of all, that this country somehow at one time belonged to white people. It never belonged to white people. This country was inhabited by native peoples with their culture, with their language, with their tradition, with their love for each other, with their religions. They were here living, breathing, prospering. And then the Europeans showed up and everything changed. How can you think that that's like you coming to my house and coming in and saying it's your house? It's not your house. You're a visitor. I can sell you the house. It can be your house. But you just can't come in and take the house. And that's what the Europeans did. They came in and they just took the house. But they not only did that, they brought a workforce in chattel slavery. And so this idea that somehow this country belongs to white people, make America great again, take back our country. It never belonged to you. The land never belonged to you. I mean, like, this is well-known history. You don't even need to do an extra Jesus of history to find out that what I'm saying to you is the truth. Okay. Um, as as I talked about, I think in my last video, about the fact that Africans came here with a skill set that helped build this country. They didn't learn it here. They brought it from the continent. Okay. The big lie, though, the big lie. The big lie consists of the following: that Native people were grateful for your invasion, that somehow you made life better. Somehow the treaties that you made and you broke somehow made life better for them. Somehow the Trail of Tears and how you moved them off their own land and put them on reservations made their life better for them. Somehow the American schools that you created to strip them of their culture and their language, somehow that made them better. That's a lie. It was traumatic. And Native people are still today dealing with that trauma. That slavery was a necessary evil. That how else could you build a country unless you did it with free labor? Man, no, you couldn't do it yourself. No, that's too much work. No, that requires too much sacrifice. Let me just own some people and get free labor. And guess what? You built a country. Okay. However, okay, you still had Native peoples here. So you ostracized them to build a country. No, slavery is never acceptable under any circumstances. And it's nothing that we can justify when we talk about the owning of a human being. That white people, number three, that white people are superior and deserve their privileged status. Wow. I don't have enough time to go into the history of whiteness and how things and systems were created to establish a privileged class. And we see it today. You can look around you today. The inclusivity is a joke. Being represented is a joke. And have we made some strides in that? Yeah, I would definitely say we have. I'm not going to sit here and say that we're still in pre-Reconstruction days. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying the progress has not been what any black or brown person appreciates and needs and desires. We desire to take our rightful place right next to our white brothers and sisters. As simple as that. Simple as that. That DEI, the fourth, is that DEI is reverse discrimination. Okay. In a country where whiteness has been celebrated and has been the standard because it's been forced upon people, right? It's not like a voluntary, status that anyone has had. It has been literally forced by white nationalists, white supremacists, by the KKK. I mean, you can go by laws that said blacks couldn't marry whites, and by these restrictive covenants where you couldn't buy a house here, redlining. We could go on and on and on and on. Laws have enforced a privileged status. But that's a lie. We are all born from a woman. We have no choice on who that woman is. We have no choice on whether or not we will be born black, white, whether we will be Asian, or whether we have no choice. Whether we be tall or short, we have no choice. Yet, you take the randomness of the universe and say, I'm special. I'm better because of the lack of the pigment of my skin. It's a lie. And the fact that we are in 2023 and people still believe such foolishness, that's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It's not rational. And we can look around this world. I mean, okay. And the last thing, that black and brown people are stealing their country, that our presence here, that the immigrants that come here, you hear people all the time, go back to your country. I've been told that. I mean, really? I was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I don't, and my mother was born in Mississippi. My father was born in Arkansas. I don't, that's America, isn't it? I mean, last time I checked, I mean, we can go all the way back to Elder Doc Brown. He was born in slavery. I mean, it's America. I was born here. And all citizens, natural born citizens, are natural born people are citizens of the United States. And so this idea that somehow you are losing because you see a sense of equality, a sense of fairness, you're losing. Why are you losing? You have nothing to lose. It doesn't belong to you. This country does not belong to you. It belongs to every American citizen, regardless of race, age, gender, does not matter. It belongs to all of us. That's where the struggle comes in. Now, let's get back to my original point, and I'm going to conclude here. Are you being represented in this democracy? I think the answer is, of course, you're not. But then the obvious question is, what can I do? How do I change that? And that's a long process. It's called voting. It's called changing laws. It's called new regulations, new policies. This is a long, long process, folks. But the sad thing is you can't begin the process unless we begin with the facts and the truth. This is a conversation that we need to be having in America. We don't need to be talking about an election that was not stolen. We shouldn't even be talking about all of this. Man, let the law deal with Trump. Okay? Let the law deal with him. We have serious issues in this country. You saw what happened in Montgomery. I mean, there are people that want a race war. I mean, we see what happened also in Alabama with the governor that the mayor that had won and what did they do? They ousted him. He was the first black mayor. We have serious problems on the ground. The question is, what can we do? Well, first of all, we need to dialogue. We need to have conversation. We need to have real conversation. We don't need to be talking about things that are not within reality. Okay. And we need some serious change. We need new governors. We need new state legislators. We need new superintendents. We need a complete overhaul. Somebody might call it a revolution. How about a revolution of mind and thought? Because you said revolution, everybody thinks you're talking violent. A revolution of mind and thought that then leads to a revolution in action, not violent. A revolution in action that begins to address the systemic problems that we have in this country. But folks, rest assured, I want to be crystal clear to you. This is nowhere close to being over. This is the beginning. Think about not just yourself, but your family, your kids, your grandkids. This country is imploding. And it's going to take folks like you, folks that have energy, passion, and commitment. And it's going to take people that are not concerned about what they will lose. Because let me tell you something, with every victory, there is a cost. With everyone, there is a cost and there is um, there's a pain. And and so I want to encourage you that the fight is still going on. we haven't given up. We have to continue to fight. Um, but we are not being represented. Folks, I I there are days where I contemplate what is happening in this country. And there are days where I think the fight has been lost. But then, as the motto of South Carolina says, while I breathe, I hope. History will speak of us. Somewhere in the distant future, a scribe will reach down deep into the archives of our time, and what will she find? Will she discover that we overcame our differences? Will she find that out of many, we became one? Or will she find that we solved nothing and remain a divided peoples? Yes, history will speak of us.